I don't know about you guys, but I watch that. I get excited. I get excited. Hey, I want to thank you all for coming out to this congregational meeting. I want to be honest with you. The reason we got the idea to put this together is because, like any church, there are small conversations that happen in different corners of the property, sometimes in the parking lot after church, sometimes down at Hebrews Cafe, and we hear about the things that are being talked about, and they never really are made transparent. So whatever we talk about in the church, we just want to be totally open and offer all the information that we have that is here within our staff, within our leadership, the direction that we're going, and what is happening. So today's meeting is just all about coming in here in an informal setting where we can learn about our church, maybe what's going on behind the scenes inside of our staff and our leadership, the direction that we're heading, what's happening in our denomination and other things that might be able to answer some of the questions that you have, and at the same time, allow you to ask a question that comes up during this time. So this isn't a time to vote on anything or make any nominations or motions or anything like that. It's a time for information. So today, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear from the different leaders in our staff, and you're going to hear from different parts of our ministry on our leadership team and what they are doing and what the future looks like. And here's what I want you to know. Just like we just watched this little video here, and I'm going to shut up soon, I promise. I'm really proud to be pastor of this church, and I mean that. I don't say that as ear candy. When I say that, I see us doing things that any pastor would be proud to have happening in their church, and I want you to know that I genuinely, authentically mean that, okay? So let's start today with a prayer, shall we? Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Lord, today we come here as your children, and we just ask for your presence with us. Would you join us in this room? We call upon your Holy Spirit in a way that you might infect us, that you might be in our hearts, our minds, and also our voice as we raise questions and as we answer questions, as we talk about the ministries and celebrations we have here. Would you just be in all of that? Would you help us to be that church that looks at the world as it is and longs to make it look like the world that you want it to be? That's all we want in all that we do. So if you join us here today, through the power of the Holy Spirit, guide us through this time together that we might be enlightened by your Spirit and that we might grow through it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Now, you should have gotten a little agenda there that just says how we're going to go down the line. And this is just the order that we're going to ask different people to come up and introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what they do here and maybe give you the opportunity to ask them a question if you want to do that. We're going to start off with the ministry area of our preschool here. Anna, if you would come up. Normally, Elise Coakley would be here. She's our director. She's also a member of this church, but she's in St. Kitts on vacation. And we tried to deny that vacation, by the way. That didn't work out. So I want to introduce Anna Knauer here from the board, too. Yep, we should have a microphone there ready to go.
Second, testing. Okay.
Yep, there you go.
All right, everybody. My name is Anna Knauer. If you guys don't know me and my husband attend the 11 a.m. service. We have two little boys who go to the preschool. I teach Sunday school here. I'm on the leadership team, and I also serve on the board of the preschool. So our preschool ministry was started at West Lawn as an intentional strategy by West Lawn to embrace and nurture the community and offer radical hospitality beyond Sunday school morning worship and discipleship. We opened our preschool, this is our third year. We opened it in September of 2021 for ages 2 all the way up to pre-K. That year we had 55 students, and this year we have 60 students. This is our third year. Of those, 34 are returning students, and 26 are new students. So each week, the children learn curriculum using hands-on activities, which keeps them engaged, and they focus on subjects like math and language and preparing for kindergarten. Each week, the children get to do chapel time with a Bible study taught either by Pastor Tom, Pastor Chris, Kelly, or Tricia, and these lessons include activities, prayer, and music. Every other week, the children walk to the library across the street, and they get to learn the responsibility of taking care of borrowed books, or at least in my family, that's the same Thomas the Train book for 2 straight months. Every other week as well, we have readers from the church congregation or grandparents. That's a great opportunity to volunteer. They come and they get to read to the children. That's something the kids really look forward to every other week. Some of our special events, you saw some pictures of that, include our Christmas program, which is live streamed. You can go back and watch it. It's really cute. We also have an end of year program. And as a parent, that's always a joy to watch and see the kids because they always have like little secret songs they've learned that we get to see what they've been preparing for. We also do 2 field trips, one in the fall, which is to the orchard, and then we go to the hands-on house in springtime. They also have the firefighter come out and do a presentation that's very popular. Just last week, the kids got to do a yoga class, and then the children also participate in Read Across America Week. Awkwardly turn my page. So I think that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Kelly and Laurie recently hosted the preschool mission night where our preschool families got to come and complete simple hands-on mission work that exposed them to giving back to others. And also there was pizza, which is always popular, but that was a really fun event. So we've had a lot of crossover events, including on Wednesdays, once a month, I believe. We've had the families be invited from the preschool to come to our Wednesday night and get to congregate and see kind of some of the ministries happening here on church outside of the preschool. All in all, this has been a great ministry both for the growth of the families within the church and those in the outreach of our community. And as a parent, it has been a personal pleasure to see my oldest son, who started at 2 years old and now 5 years old, begin the preparation for kindergarten next year. It has been a joy to see him and all of his peers grow both in their faith and academic skills every year. So if you'd like to serve, reach out to Elise Coakley for opportunities to read, or there's always a lengthy list of supplies because these kids go through a lot of goldfish. So.
Any questions for Anna and the preschool? Anna is also one of our resident actor. What was your recent show?
I was just in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf at the Walnut Street. So.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Anna.
All right. So I was going to give you an update on Children and Family Ministries, but the most exciting part is our new team member, Stephanie, who has been on board for a few weeks here, but giving her the opportunity to listen instead of presenting this, but she does have a role to play very shortly in a few minutes. Few updates from it. As you can see on the screen, our average attendance continues to be very consistent, always inviting new children, and families are showing up regularly on Sunday mornings. It's very exciting, about 75 kids on a regular Sunday, 70 teachers. Now, that looks like an amazing odds, right? Almost 1-to-1. But it does take that team of rotation to run this well on a Sunday and completely fully staffed. On top of that, we pull in another number of subs when we need to replace people for vacations and Sundays off. Sunday nights, bi-monthly, tween group and kids club, very popular time for kids to come out. That's more their fellowships, the games, really just get to spend some unique time with them doing things that we can't do within the constraints of an hour on a Sunday morning. Tuesday evenings are very active here. There are a number of groups, small groups that meet, and we provide the childcare with them. We also minister to them with specially programmed activities every 3 weeks. So our team will be there and choose biblical studies and activities for them to follow. Regular special events always are happening to engage the children, their parents, their older siblings, their younger siblings. You know a lot of them and see all of the advertising, such as Vacation Bible School, the Sweet Sunday parties coming up next week, throughout the year. Depends on what the holiday and the season are. There's always things happening. And as Anna mentioned, we do a lot of intentional outreach to those preschool families. Yes, there are a number of West Lawn families that attend our preschool, but there are a number of other families that are not part of our regular congregation. So if I would just give you a few trends here, average attendance is very steady, like I said. Growing in the nursery. If you ever stop by the nursery on a Sunday morning, you might be shocked to see how many little ones are in there during the 9:30 hour. The participation by the parents and the families is very commendable. You'll see them constantly being willing to step up and do some things, to come out and be involved in the activities, and the support of the entire congregation continues to be very, very strong. I was telling Steph, I'm like, hey, if you ever need something, if you want to talk to something about it, this congregation is very, very supportive of children and family ministries, and that makes it very easy and successful. Donations, monetary support, consistent, and the specialized programs for various different groups of children, that is an area that we know we can grow into. We identify that there are a lot of different diversities of our congregation, of our children, whether it's special education needs, whether it's just all kinds of different makeup of how that they go apply learning in a regular school situation as well as at church. And we have a great opportunity to minister them in unique and special ways. And that's something that Steph will be working on with the teams in the near future. Does anyone have any questions for me? All right.
Awesome.
Well, without further ado, you get to hear from herself.
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Kelly. As she said, my name is Stephanie Surface, and I'm here to be working in children and family ministries as well as helping out with youth. I am filling in for Trish today to report on some youth information. I apologize because I have not met them yet, unfortunately, but tonight I will be. So this is data that she has passed along. So the mission of Firehouse Youth is to invite, embrace, and empower students to know and follow Jesus. In 2023, we lived out this mission in a variety of ways. We have a roster of over 100 youth with 78 active students that participate within the congregation at large, and any activities or special events that we have going on. We have youth group regularly on Sunday evenings, so tonight from 6 to 8. That attendance is usually roughly 22 people. We play games, eat snacks, grow in our faith, and meet in small groups. And then about 2 times a year, we host a weekend retreat at one of our UMC camps. Sunday mornings, there's meetings for 6th and 7th graders and confirmation class for our 8th grade students. Missions, both locally and further reaching missions, are a big part of the faith with Firehouse Youth. So we participate locally with New Journey Community Outreach, collecting items and doing whatever we can to help them. When we traveled twice since the pandemic to the Appalachian Mountains to help make some homes warmer, safer, and drier. And this past summer, we traveled to Daytona for the UMC gathering of youth across the nation, and hope to participate again 4 years from now. Confirmation is a specific part of the youth program where students are given the opportunity to learn what it means to follow Jesus through their whole lives. So that grown-up faith that we're looking for. We had 15 students in 2022, 13 in 2023, and we currently have 11 in our class this year. For the past 8 years, the youth auction has helped to create a scholarship fund, and that provides youth families with the opportunity to subsidize some of these trips that we go on, special events, any of that kind of thing, so somebody who wouldn't otherwise be able to go. This past November, we raised $12,000. Trish also has a personal note that she would like me to deliver. She says, I love watching youth take steps in their own faith and desire to know Jesus more, whether that is through personal Bible study, small group, or even digging ditches in West Virginia.
Any questions for Stephanie? Good. All right.
Oh, you're right.
All right. Next area is maybe an area that all of you are kind of questioning, like, what is she going to do now? What is her new role? So as I leave behind a little bit of glitter and construction paper, I will be working here on staff as the Director of Leadership Development and Volunteer Recruitment. So there is my immediate goal to identify the amazing source of talent in the pews, to encourage everyone to be engaged in some volunteer activity, and empower all to be the church as an act of discipleship in action. So a few of my immediate tasks, or things that I'm looking to, work on and have been working on the last few months, is to be the primary link between volunteers, the ministry leaders, that many of us are listed here, and the staff, as well as cultivate relationship building experiences for the entire congregation. And that can look and be in a number of different ways, whether that's playing pickleball or whether that's going on an international mission trip. There are lots of ways to cultivate relationships so that when you come here, everybody feels like they have some people, they have a family, they are part of this congregation and not sitting alone in a pew, not knowing anybody and nobody knowing them. Another immediate task is to promote a growing community of faith where everyone feels connected to their Westland home and family, so I sort of already said that. To continue to develop a comprehensive women's ministry. To intentionally follow up with visitors and assist new members to find connections and community. So once we know somebody has come here on a Sunday morning or to a Bible study or to another event, continuing to reach out to them, inviting them to get to know others, how they can be engaged, all the way through them joining if they choose to, and what that looks like beyond in terms of getting involved in activities and finding their interests, where their interests lie. Support all the ministries by helping to recruit volunteers and developing leaders so that those ministries run effectively and efficiently, as well as offer excellent hospitality on a regular and consistent basis. That's beyond the donut holes, but next level. All right, does anyone have any questions about all of that? Good, because I still wake up most days and say, I have some questions. No, I'm falling into it just the way I had envisioned, but it is a position of still just defining and doing the work that I know we can do together. I also wanted to report a little bit on adult discipleship. Pat, you're going to talk about congregational care, correct? So just to mention really quickly, adult discipleship, there are 4 adult Sunday school classes on a Sunday morning, 3 at 9:30, 1 at 11, and there are roughly, it's hard for us to always gauge this number, roughly 15 small groups and Bible studies. They talk about things that are topical, books of the Bible, special interests. I'm not sure if there's another slide. Okay. So adult discipleship is various. It's consistent here. The attendance is steady, I would say, overall. There is a great potential and an area that I will also be working in on developing special interest groups, whether that is biblical Bible studies, whether that is interest-based, whether that is fellowship-based. There's lots of different ways and opportunities that can look at. And the other area that is a trend or something that we can start to investigate and dive further into is alternate, more modern ways to gather for disciple. That could be digital venues, and it could also be off-site venues. You may have seen the slide this morning for Stogies and Cigars, correct? Or Stogies and Scripture. Stogies and Scripture. So there are other ways to pour into people in an adult pattern in discipleship that maybe is more modern in this day and time. So, any questions regarding that? All right. Who's next here? Oh.
Dave, you can go to the worship slide. So what I have to offer everyone today is our worship attendance numbers. What we compared here is 2019 versus 2023. Why 2019? Well, that year was, of course, pre-COVID, and it was also the last year when we didn't have a major pastoral change. So that was the most normal year as compared to 2023. We broke it down into quarters, and what you're seeing is the average Sunday worship per quarter. For 2019, all of those numbers are in-person numbers. We did have live streaming capabilities at that time, but they weren't really recorded well, and it wasn't readily being sought out. That was primarily used for people that were sick or ill or homebound, and it wasn't as well produced as it is now. So the 2019 numbers are all in-person numbers. However, then look at 2023, you have stacked numbers there. The larger portion, of course, is the in-person, and then the blue color stacked on top is online. Some interesting trends there, as you can see, they kind of go, the pattern is pretty much mirrored for each quarter there. What's interesting to know as well is the online attendance is captured as one IP address equals one person. So whether the person logged in on YouTube, on their cell phone, on the website, that counts as one view. Now, often we know that most of the people that are logging in at home or wherever they may be, a couple or entire family. However, we only capture 1 equals 1. We don't use any algorithm to multiply it, and we only count live Sunday views. So what you're seeing there is a pretty accurate snapshot of who is logging in live on a Sunday. So the numbers there pretty much are, in my opinion, sort of apples to apples because we only are counting live, but I would just give that caveat that the online attendance is probably 50% higher if I had to throw something in there. What I have for worship. Any questions regarding worship attendance, worship in general? Pastor Tom's sermons, you want to talk about those now? Go ahead. The question is, how are we logging attendance? We're not logging attendance, and we're not self-reporting anymore. But we do have a person, one of the greeters or the ushers in the back has a baseball pitch counter. Every person that walks by, they get a click. So the numbers are pretty accurate with that. John. Anecdotally, extremely well. All congregations across our denomination and across Christian churches as a whole have all seen a decline. Many such greater, steeper, whatever word I'm looking for, than ours. So this is very encouraging as compared to others. What that equals to as well as far as the online, and Pastor Tom, we were talking about this earlier today, we have roughly about 150 people online. Again, that's just single. So probably closer to 200 or upwards online. That's our online church, so to speak, is larger than 90% of the churches in our conference. So if we think about it that way as well. Again, also very encouraging. There's a lot of different ways that you measure discipleship and spiritual growth. Unfortunately, worship attendance, Sunday school attendance, who goes on mission projects, that kind of thing, are some of the hardline things, but there aren't many other quantifiable numbers as worship attendance. But it's always a good litmus test. Any other questions or concerns regarding worship? Okay. Terry and Pat, I think you guys are up. You can do it together and you can share the mic. You can do a duet.
How much time do we have? What? Turn the other way? No. I'm Pastor Terry Cooney. I think most of you know me. If you don't, it's because you've been healthy. I am the pastor of visitation, and I try my utmost to be there representing this congregation in various situations, whether they're at home, hospitals, retirement communities, nursing facilities, to the best of our ability. You can help me a lot. There's 1,700 of you guys. Okay? I can't visit you all as much as we would like to. So if you are in need of a visit, let us know. If you are in the hospital and you haven't heard from the church staff or myself, let us know. It's because we don't know you're there. The hospitals in this area don't tell us when you're in the hospital. You have to do that. I know you visit when you know you have a relative in there, but we'd like to be there as well to offer our prayers, our support. Very often the sacraments are shared with those who can no longer physically come and worship with us. They don't want to be forgotten, and we don't want to forget them. They're valuable members of our congregation with years of experience and great memories of things that have happened here in this congregation, and we want to be there to help support them. So it's my privilege to serve in that role, and again, let us know. That's the biggest thing you can do for us. And if you'd like, I have a bunch of business cards in my pocket. I'd be happy to share them, take them with you, and God bless. It's my privilege to be here as pastor of visitation. And I'm going to introduce a lady I've known for a while. It's good to be back in ministry with Pat Goshert.
Hi, I'm Pat Goshert. I know some of you and hope to get to know all of you. I'm the congregational care pastor, and as you can see on the screen, some of the ministries that I oversee. The first one will be Grief Share. We have 6 trained Grief Share facilitators here. We currently have 2 groups going on. We have Tuesday evening and Wednesday afternoon. And this ministry offers help and hope to those who are grieving. And this not only ministers to our congregation, but also to our community. And the prayer team. We have 18 members of the prayer team that we work on events throughout the year. We put on the longest night, which was in December. We're working on a Good Friday experiential, I'll say, prayer experience or prayer vigil. And also, we are working on having part of the prayer team, maybe 1 or 2 members there at West Lawn Wednesday to do the prayer and be available for prayer. And we're also looking to improve one of the rooms as you're leaving for people to stop in and have a quiet time, maybe a quiet time or a place to pray. Stephen Ministry. Stephen Ministry provides high-quality, one-to-one, Christ-centered care to people in our congregation and our community. And this is when they are experiencing life difficulties, and we all experience them. Now, our Stephen ministers are congregation members, and they're trained by Stephen leaders to offer care to people who are hurting. We now have 16 trained Stephen ministers, some of which are now ministering to people, again, in our congregation and our community. Caring for the caregivers is a new ministry we are looking to begin, and this is to provide opportunities for people who are caring for other people. Some people that might not have an opportunity to get out and do different things. So we're in the process now of identifying people that would benefit from this ministry. So the mission is really to care and support for people in their time of need. And we have all these ministries in order to do that. Does anybody have any questions for me? Or Terry? Okay.
Awesome.
We're not done. Let's see.
Oh. I'm used to it. Don't worry.
He made a mistake. He says, is there any anecdote you would like to share? I got a call from a couple that had not been in church for a while. They says, could you possibly find time to come by our trailer and bring communion? So I called them, and the only time I could fit it in was on a Saturday morning. Well, I got their address. I drove to the location where these folks lived, and there was a gate up. And who puts a gate in front of a trailer park? You do if it's a nudist camp. The guy came out and opened the door, and I'm going, oh my goodness, it's the middle of the day. This man should have clothes on. So
Pastor Terry, everybody.
I'm just going to wrap it up real quick. They had clothes on, and we had a wonderful visit, and we did share a community. So visitation can be very interesting as well. Okay, Pastor Tom.
Yeah. Thanks, Terry. You know, it's always dangerous to put the microphone in that guy's hand, for sure. And that's a true story. Who sent you on that visit, by the way?
I think it was Jeff.
Jeff Raffoff. Oh, okay. Oh, that settles that. Thank you. Thank you, Terry. Hey, here's what you want. You heard from a few of the staff here, but here's what I really want you to know. Your staff runs the church. I don't run the church. They are totally capable to do all of these ministries and make these things happen. There's no way, with as much stuff as going on here, I just can't be involved in all these things. So I kind of see my responsibility more of the keeper of the DNA, the communicator, fundraiser, being involved in the important decisions, being there with the leadership, which is a lovely place to be in a very capable church. So I want to thank this staff. They are just absolutely wonderful. Yeah, go ahead and show them, because they are terrific. I do know, what Pastor Chris had talked about with worship and our attendance here. I've been in contact with the larger churches in our denomination. All of them have experienced somewhere between 25 and 30% drop in in-person attendance between 2019 and 2023. But the ones that are changing and doing the work, what they're doing is they're seeing that huge increase in the online church. And we're moving to a place where we're treating that more like our second church. We have 3 services, and then we have an online church. So we're developing ways to include them in discipleship and do different things and be able to communicate in such a way that it's more like they're right here in the room. So as far as that goes, and if we would take a look at membership and baptisms and so forth, those things have remained very, very steady, very solid. So that part is just all absolutely wonderful. Again, it's a terrific staff to work with, and I'm just so proud to be part of it. Now we want to move over to the leadership side. Now the leadership side, our leadership team here, that's you folks. Those are people who have been nominated to be on this leadership team, that at Charge Conference they were put there for a reason, and they are the ones who meet monthly to guide the ministries, oversee all of these different things in the church. So I'm going to invite Renee Donovan, who is our leadership chair. She's the top person there, and this is her first year, but I'm so glad to bring her up here and let her talk to you about our leadership team. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Pastor Tom. Yes, I'm Renee Donovan. I go with John over there. We've been members here, I think, going on 9 years. I'm happy to be here. I'm delighted to be part of the leadership team and to be the chair. I'm here, I think, through 2025 or 6. I don't know exactly.
At least.
At least?
Yeah,
Okay.
at least, yeah.
Okay. We're a group of 14 individuals, men and women, young and old, and across representation from all 3 services. We are further broken down into subcommittees that you'll hear a little bit about after I'm finished. But we have the role of putting into action the vision and plans that we believe we've been given by God for West Lawn. We meet once a month throughout the year, and I said that already, somebody said that. And actually, before I go any further, if anybody who's on leadership or one of the subcommittees of leadership, would you mind just standing so we can all see your faces? Maybe turn around so the congregation can see you. There you go. All right. Thank you. So when we get together, our primary purpose and our primary goal is first and foremost to be servants. And we prayerfully consider what we're called to do. We do our best to open ourselves up to one another and to hear the Lord's vision for West Lawn. And West Lawn is a local congregation, but also in the community and in the world at large. And we're deeply committed to listening to what God has for us in direction, and we evaluate, we review, we assess, we discuss the plans that we believe are being led to, and where does He want us to be. So I guess you could say we're the team that starts with the inspired vision and then puts the logistical pieces all together. and that is to invite, embrace, and empower other people to know God and to be a part of the family of God. So I'm humbled, and I appreciate being in this capacity, and I'm open to questions or dialogue anytime. You can just look me up on the directory. I'm there. Yes. I'm gonna have to turn to Pastor Tom on that one.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end, but I don't know what you heard, Mary, but that's not true. So
Okay.
she heard a radio announcement that the Methodist conference office is closing, but not true. So I'll talk a little bit about the denomination at the end. So if you have questions about the denomination, I can talk to you then.
So if there's no questions for me, let's see who's next.
Charlie.
Oh, I'd like to introduce Charlie Soper, head of the property committee.
Good afternoon. As I look out, I will figure that very few people know who I am. I'm a retired pastor from the Greater New Jersey Conference, and this summer, early fall, Pastor Tom asked if I would take and join the property team. And little did I know that his plan was for me to lead the property team. So I am the chair of the property team, and we have a slide that kind of tells us the purpose. And the property team is a little bit different than a lot of the other ministries, is that we don't necessarily deal with you guys, we deal with the property. And the purpose says to be Christian stewards of property, resources, and equipment that God has entrusted to the congregation so that the ministries of the congregation can be effective. It's the goal of the property team to maintain the physical buildings so that we keep them in good stead. It's hard to do ministry if something's broken or something doesn't work. And so it's up to the property team to take and address those issues. And with 4 buildings as part of this campus and all of the systems that each building has, it has and is a challenge, but we're working at that. I'm here almost, I think, 2 or 3 times a week working with Warren, and I would be amiss if I did not say thank you to Warren, who's here every day, taking and making it work. We're addressing a number of issues. If you look around the sanctuary, you'll notice that there are some new heaters, air conditioning units that are being installed. So we're working on addressing that. There are a couple other big issues that we are looking at in terms of systems and working at. There are other simple little things that have come up. For example, working to make sure the shades work in the community center. I've been coming since mid-June, and in that time, I've never seen those shades up. They've always been down, and yet we worked, in fact, to try to get those up so that they can be raised or lowered. Simple things like it came before the property team. What's the possibility of setting up pickleball courts? And so working with Kelly, hopefully you'd see in the next few weeks, I guess, we'll be offering pickleball. But that's one of the things that, as a property team, making sure what can we do to make that ministry happen. So there's a lot of things that go on. That entrusting, you can think of the word trustees. In many churches, trustees are the property team, and we're working on trying to take this purpose to heart so that we have an incredible facility to offer. A small church guy for the most part. When I came to West Lawn, I was just blown away by the ability you have to do anything you can imagine. We have the property, the facilities, the space to do it. And if whatever your dreams are, talk to Kelly. So, and then we'll do whatever we can to support her. And that may be a bigger promise than I can imagine. So, what questions do you have regarding our facilities, our properties? Yes. Has anyone done a professional energy survey? See, this is where I can pull out this, I don't know, because I've only been here for about 9 months.
Other buildings that have like a campus-like
Here, let me
in other areas where I've been that have like a campus-like activity going on all the time, they have like lights that come on when there's motion and they turn off. And they found that they've saved a lot of money. And the temperatures are all handled by the times, they're scheduled. And I just wondered, nothing has been done that way to look at how to reduce the utility bills?
So what have we done? My understanding is a number of the rooms do have some motion on off. Woodside, for example, when that building was redone, that whole building is like lights on and off. We are working, in fact, Woodside, and again, that's the easiest because that's been the one that you've renovated. That has monitoring for temperature that can be done remotely. The new system that's being put in here will be able to monitor remotely, and that's part of you're right, we have to look at schedules and, when we walk into a building, what's on that doesn't need to be on. So those are professionally, maybe won't be done, but it's certainly things that we all need to take responsibility of as staff and volunteers to raise those questions and make those changes so that we can. Utilities are expensive.
Warren, correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't we 100% LED now with the lights as well? Yeah, so within last year, every single bulb in here has been changed from incandescent. With the exception of the community center hall. Gotcha. So just the community center hall still remains the incandescent, which Warren then has to get the scissor lift out, which is always entertaining. Fluorescent, thank you. And we also do have shopped around for other utilities with the electricity and gas as well. So we are doing our best to maintain it and cut down on the utility costs.
Okay. What's the gas bill? And yeah, I'm not having gotten into those bills. We are, as a property team, we are looking, because there's things that are very expensive. So one of the things that we're going to be also doing is looking, and again, working a little bit with Kelly, is I'm in the process with Warren and making a list of small projects that need to be done around the church, and possibly starting a group called Helping Hands that could come together on a Saturday morning, maybe a weekday morning, and do either some painting or some other little projects around the church, which again will help us save some money along the way. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Chris's parsonage is, yes, one parsonage. Anything else? Questioning? We're good? And Andy. Oh my goodness. I didn't staple my papers. So yeah, we're talking forgiveness already.
Yeah. No, I'm much more comfortable with that.
I'm much more comfortable behind a stand. I am. Hi, everyone. I'm Andy Hoffert. I'm honored to serve as the chair of Personnel Committee here at West Lawn as of January of 2024. Some of you know me from my involvement in a lot of different aspects of the church community. I've been around here since about 2006. I've had the privilege of being a member of the praise band, serving on the leadership team here now for the last couple of years. My wife, Erica, and I are the proud parents of 3 children. Jacob, who's in his first year at Penn State. Nora is a junior here at Wilson High School. And our youngest, Wesley, keeps us on our toes. He's a 4th grader at Green Valley. All 3 of them have been actively involved in lots of different aspects of our church, youth, and children's ministries over the years. And that's been a real blessing for our family. So I'm happy to be a part of the leadership team to help that going forward for the next generation. For those familiar with United Methodism and the terminology, you might recognize our committee as the Staff Parish Relations Committee, or SPRC as it's called in some congregations. But our primary focus is on facilitating communication and support between the congregation and our church staff, many of whom you heard from today already. That includes both our clergy and the dedicated lay individuals who serve our community. It's important to recognize that while our primary mission is to worship God and to serve our community, we have a responsibility as an employer to ensure fair labor practices, administer payroll, and provide benefits for our valued employees. This aspect of our church's operation is often overlooked, but it's critical to uphold those standards as we strive to embody our faith in all aspects of our organizational structure. So just to talk a little bit about some of our recent activities, and actually, if you flip back one, I don't know who's in control of this. I think I just have to go like that. There's our personnel team. You'll recognize some of the names from our leadership team list, but then there are some other additional individuals who participate as part of the personnel subcommittee. So you can go to the next one now. I just have to go like that. Okay. So a few recent activities for the personnel team. We have worked closely with our pastoral staff over the last year and a half to restructure several full-time and part-time staff positions within our church. You've seen a lot of title changes, announcements being made in church, additional staff, some staff leaving. The initiative has resulted in what we're projecting as a savings of around $80,000 in the 2024 budget year, allowing us to allocate those resources to either other places or to more efficiently fulfill our mission. We've added new staff. We're thrilled to announce, obviously, the recruitment and hiring of Stephanie at a new full-time position. This addition to our team will further strengthen our commitment to nurturing the spiritual growth and development of our youngest members. In October, we completed the annual pastoral evaluations, which we'll ramp up to do again using the conference protocol for that. And that's an annual something that happens annually right before our charge conference. And then finally, something we've been working on for quite a while is updating and revising our employee policy manual. That's a personal pet project of mine. I'm also on the policy committee, which we're not going to talk about today, but it's something really engaging and fun. And if you're into policy, this is the place to spend time. So some goals going forward. Again, talked about our annual pastoral performance evaluation. That's going to be happening towards the end of the year. Continuing our work on the policy manual revision. We're currently recruiting for a part-time contemporary music, director of contemporary music. So if you're a guitar player sitting out there and you want to step forward, you can talk to myself or to Pastor Chris after today. And then finally, just continuing to work on our stewardship responsibilities in terms of the personnel budget moving forward. As we move into 2024, the Personnel Committee remains dedicated to supporting our church staff, upholding the highest standards of professionalism and integrity, and fostering a culture of inclusivity, respect, and servant leadership within our church community. Any questions for me? Occasionally. I can't be on staff and on leadership team at the same time. Just throwing that out there. Nah. Other questions? Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andy. Bob Mays.
Bob. Do you want the stand? Okay. All right.
At my age, you don't need notes. Thank you, everyone, for coming today. I appreciate it very much. Renee mentioned young or old. Just so you know, I am the oldest of the old. Thank you, Renee, for bringing that up. And people want to know how long you've been at this church? 1948. I was here when the church stopped at those windows back there, first time I came. And I am quite here for a while. Who's flicking now? I'm the chairperson of Missions and Outreach, and I have 4 slides. The first one is just me some numbers. Second one, we're going to get into the Christmas Miracle Offering and mission and outreach that covers the budget. Okay, if I tried to discuss mission and outreach in detail, we'd be here till 3 o'clock. My grandson has a basketball game at 3 o'clock, so I won't be here that long. Standpoint of more than 20% of our budget goes to missions. That is dollars coming into the church via revenue. 20%, that includes the Christmas Miracle Offering, goes directly to support missions. And some of those I'm going to relay to you. Like I said, there's so many missions, I couldn't talk to all of them. We give $135,000 to conference funds. You may say, well, why is that missions? We're talking about things like UMCOR, UNICEF, and things like that. Missionary support, we have 2 missionaries, John and Melissa Ager, who are John is the son of Mick and Joyce Ager, been here for a number of years. And then we also have Chris and Nancy Mamos. Nancy is the sister to Beth Ebling, and their father, Joe Kewen, and his wife, Jean, were here for many, many, many years as well. So those 2 have actually been grown up in the church, went out in the mission field, and one's in Africa, one's in Japan, so we continue to support them on an annual basis. Berks County missions, we're going to get into a little later on. Outreaching mission concerns is 13.5, which is budgetary items that we go. 13.5, part of that is New Journey Community Outreach, is the primary reason for that one. And this year, the Christmas Miracle Offering was $94,000. Leadership has not met yet. So you're going to find out if a leadership team member is not here, where that money is going before they find out about it. Next slide, please. These are some of the ones in the church budget. Berks Coalition to End Homelessness is one of those. We're funding that because they're doing portable showers, and they're going to go out and they're going to buy a trailer or something. I don't know what it is, looks like yet. And they're going to go visit various churches, parking lots. They're going to heat the water via propane, we were told, and we're going to offer portable showers to the homeless in Berks County. Family Promise, we have used to house people here in the church from a family standpoint, and now they got their own building in Reading that they're using, so we're going to give money, continue to give money to them. Fuller Center for the Housing. Fuller is the company we work with to do international missions like Haiti and El Salvador. Help Building Hope, that was the project. We built a home over here. We framed out a home. Last year, we had over 130, I was told, volunteers working Friday night and Saturday framing out a home. We're going to continue to fund that. The Helping Harvest Food Bank over on 724 funnels food out to a lot of people. They are really hurting for funds. We're going to help them with money. Hope Rescue Mission. Of course, don't have to say much about the Hope Rescue Mission. We know what they do. They house people. They just recently opened up a women's center, so we're going to use our money to help fund in them. Little Acts of Love is Alice Moyer and her husband. Again, go to the church, staff the church office during Sunday school, very active in the church. Mary Shelter is over in Shellington. Again, they just lost some funding due to the fact they were told they're housing too many children. So they lost federal funding. It's hard to believe. I don't have the guidelines, but we're giving them money. And of course, we all know about our affiliation with New Journey Community and Outreach in town. Next slide. Here's our Christmas Miracle Offering from the first year till now. We have received $955,000 in Christmas Miracle Offering money, and I think that's a real testament to this congregation, and I applaud all of you for giving, for those that have given. And then the last slide is who's getting our Christmas Miracle Offering this year. Again, we're going to continue to build or frame out a house this year. Hope Rescue Mission because of the expansion of the Women's Center. Our Christian ministry, of course, we all know about the Christian. I tried to figure out how many servants this church has, and it was impossible. But I can tell you that I started with the kitchen ministry, and they have 75 active participants in the kitchen ministry alone. Lighthouse for Women and Children, again, is under housing. The Neighborhood Mission Team, New Journey Community Outreach I touched on, Opportunity House. I guess you all know we go in there once a month, and we provide a meal and give servants in there to those people. The Appalachian Service Project is something we've done a few years before, and that is a youth and adult mission team project that I believe Chris heads along with the youth leader, and they're going to do that again this year. And now we've gone to El Salvador now for the second year in a row because we were told by Fuller to avoid Haiti, and that's why we've changed from Haiti, and we've elected to make El Salvador our international mission team. I think there's one more slide. Or is that it? Okay. Any questions about missions? Okay, Chuck? I'm sorry, hand just went up. I'm sorry. You have a question? We'll take that under consideration. Again, the Christmas Miracle Money Offering has been kind of allocated, and so is the church budget money, but we'll consider that maybe for next year. Okay.
No more questions for Bob? Trying to get him more. All right, I'm Chuck Chubb. I just took over a finance role beginning of the year. I sort of repeat, I did it years and years ago. We're going to go over some of the numbers of what we've seen trend-wise. I will try not to get into too much detail. I have to tell you, you guys are more scary than I used to do a lot of speaking professionally. but I've retired 5 years. You guys all know me, so it's a lot harder. And I'm looking at my wife because she used to think when I spoke, I just wung it. Well, today I'm somewhat winging it. my area is always, I always try to get familiar with the numbers, try not to write everything down. I don't want to read to you, but I do want to try to bring light upon what we're doing. First of all, I guess I should, since I was not a very good slide maker, I should list some of the members of the Finance Committee, if they could stand up. You know, Mike Poole's here, Bob Mays, Terry Jenkins. Also, Derek Raybold serves on the finance, and I'm missing one where Paul, our finance manager, works on it, and of course the pastors are involved in all the committees. Thanks. So when we met this year for the first time with the leadership team, I look at our goal as a finance committee this year is really to try to educate everybody on the finance committee and the leadership team to get as familiar as possible with all the resources we have as the church. We're going to touch primarily on budget numbers, but in addition to the budget, we bring in and deal with a lot more revenue throughout the year, a lot more funds that we have reserved from different years, that we do a lot of other things outside of the budget. For example, Bob was just talking about the Christmas miracle offering. That $94,000 this year, that is not budget income. That's not something we're managing, because that comes in and goes right back out the door to specific missions which they identify. So when we're talking about budget, that's our annual, really operational needs that we do on a regular basis, and we staff for and plan for. So looking at the trends, alluded to it earlier, obviously the attendance, it's been down some, but the revenue is down pretty good. When you look at the slide here, we actually hit a high in 2021, 1,557,000. Now, I did not put up a bunch of other numbers, but really for the prior years, 2020, 19, and 18, we were running about 1,460,000, 1,450,000, in that range. It staggered a little bit each year, but it was fairly consistent. What we've seen now, obviously, so we've seen a pretty decent drop. If you forget about the 1,500,000, we've dropped about $100,000 or a little less on annual giving. Now, this church does a lot of wonderful things, and personnel addressed, they did a lot to address personnel, tried to staff more efficiently, however you want to look at it, to be able to continue to do the same type of things, maybe at less costs. What we're budgeting this year, as you can see, is the 1,396,000, which is almost identical to what we brought in revenue this year. Each year we set out to do a budget. It's what I call zero-based. You budget to break even. You don't budget to make money in a church. We're budgeting to break even. So we want to be able to raise, hopefully through the offerings, revenue that comes into the church, enough to meet $1,396,000 in expenses. We'll go into some of the different categories that those expenses fall into and how we try to manage them. So you can see over the last 2 years, there's been some significant downfalls and deficits, meaning we had to dig into reserves. Now, while that may seem a little depressing, we joined this church in 1998. I think I got slid into the finance role in 1999. So somehow that happened, I don't know. And I served in that area for a while. But when I first took over that finance, we'd come off a couple years of down. The budget was about $500,000, and we basically had no reserves. We had nothing in the bank. We were here about a year. I think it was Pastor Jeff's first year here. The heating system went out, and cooling system, right before BBS, which was really a downer. And that was $100,000. We had no money to pay for that. Today, we can cover those kind of things. While it's tighter, and obviously we're going to do everything. The staff has done everything it can to try to manage costs. We at least got some reserves, and we could cover the shortfalls in the last couple years. But we need to hopefully hit that point where we can build and move forward. You did see last year there was a slight uptick in revenue, about $40,000 over what it was the year before. I will say we're off to a little bit of a slow start this year. So if you've been holding back, please help out. Can you move to the next slide? This gives a breakdown of sort of the different categories of types of expenses that we have in the budget. Bob alluded to in the conference, in that $176,000 that we're budgeting this year, which is roughly the same as last year, there is a lot of mission-type funding that's in that number. This gives you an idea of programs. I would say programs is one area that the staff has done a wonderful job over the last 4 or 5 years, keeping those costs that are reasonable, keeping them down, actually, and still providing all the different program needs that we have. Looking at the project funding, we probably need to come up with a better title for that. But what the project funding is, was really an outshoot of what happened back in 1999 or 2000. I guess it was actually in 2000 when the heating system went out. We had no reserves. What we provide in the budget each year is funding for renovations, repairs, like Charlie was alluding to, putting a heating system in. There's security system coming in. They're going to spend $100,000 in the next couple months. That money comes out of a renovations repairs fund. We fund that at $60,000 a year because you can't judge when those things are going to happen. We've got a lot of properties. We know there's a cost each year, but it's going to stagger from year to year. So that project funding covers that, covers for replacing vehicles is one, and technology is another area. It's not an even thing. One year you may not spend, you don't need new servers every year, but when you do need them, they're $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So you can't provide on a daily. So that's what that project funding is for. Property, if you look at the property budget this year, that looks a little higher than last year. And there are two things really that impact that the most at this point. We are expecting some increases in utilities, including sewer and water charges. We've already been notified. They're going to be up. But also in there, we got a budget every year to plan on snow removal. For example, last year, I was just looking at January numbers yesterday. Last year, through January, we spent about $500 on snow plow. This year was $9,500. So you got a budget for it, so it's in there. Some years we get lucky and don't have to spend it, and that helps make budget in other ways. And as you can see, obviously the personnel costs are still a significant part of our budget, but they do a good job, and they've really done a lot to manage that as efficiently as possible. So I'm not going to go through every detail, but I will throw it open. Any questions? In addition to what I said, the revenue was $1,396,000 last year. Total revenue that came into this church was about $1.7 million last year, between like kitchen ministries was net like $18,000 net income last year. We got a few bequests that came in. So there's additional funds that are coming through the church each year. So any questions for finance? John? The preschool is not going to be funded this year? Hopefully not. There was some investment made in the preschool over the first couple of years. They are expecting we budgeted to break even this year, and to be, for the first semester, it's sort of odd because they sort of run, school year approach. But for the first semester, this ending December, there was a slight positive number, and January looks positive. It looks positive that it should be funded on its own going forward. John? Well, I don't know, missions? Yes, why the missions money went down. The missions, they allocated less is allocated to local missions than was in the past.
Yeah, so what we did is we took a look at everything that was going out in Christmas Miracle, and we also had budget items for them. So what we did is we decided to just put them all in one place in Christmas Miracle, so that the difference you see on there in missions is $30-some thousand worth inside of Christmas Miracle.
Linda, did you? I was going to ask about preschool. Okay. Any other questions? If not, it's all yours.
Thanks, Chuck. You do great work. Along with all of the, I don't need both of these, do I? Okay, sorry about that, Dave. I was double micing it there for a second. The leadership does tremendous work. I mean, the group that Renee just introduced you to and several others, that's all volunteer, between the meetings and everything that's done here, the time that Chuck spends with the controller and everything. It's just absolutely wonderful. So I want to thank all of you for this incredible work that you've been doing. A couple things I want to follow up on. One thing I meant to have on the on the ministry list that I didn't. You've heard about El Buen Pastor. You can hold off on that for a second, Dave. El Buen Pastor, you've heard me talk about that as our Spanish-speaking ministry here. Our leadership has set aside $20,000 outside the budget just to get El Buen Pastor, which, by the way, means the Good Shepherd, just to get that started. We had hired a Latino Spanish-speaking pastor from Bethlehem who was coming here, and Manfredo Luna. Manfredo was working with that group. He already had a group started in Reading that was about 16 people. They were meeting here for Bible study and began worship here last year. And that group, we actually lost most of the people from Reading, but what we found is we have a large contingent of Spanish-speaking people here at Westlawn who really got energized by this and who really got some momentum going. So what we've decided to do is we've pulled back on the worship. We're no longer worshiping at 4 o'clock on Sundays, but they do Bible study led by Edwin Romero and Nick Camacho over in the 100 house every Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And something else has just really exciting has happened with this group. We're going to be starting English as second language courses twice a week over in the community center. And I don't know if you know this or not, but our Reading community is over 62% Spanish speaking now. It's a very large contingent of the demographics here. We're going to be starting English as second language courses over in the community center, working both with the Literary Council of Berks County, Literacy Council of Berks County, and the Wilson School District. We'll be meeting this week with Wilson School District, and they are just so excited because they have so many people coming through these classes for GED, immigration classes, English as second language. Our El Buen Pastor group here is going to provide hospitality and welcoming for that in Spanish. I'm just so excited about that. I wanted you to know your leadership is behind this. We realize this is a big part of the future of Westlawn Church, and we're going to continue to work in that area. So I wanted to make sure I gave you that news. Any questions about El Buen Pastor before I go on? Yeah, Anna. Yeah, so here's what we learned. Anna's question is about children's ministry as far as Spanish-speaking children's ministry. And you know, Edwin Romero's here. He might be able to answer some of these questions better than me. What we found is, I haven't found any of the children that don't speak English. It's the parents that don't speak English. So what we actually need is we need those people in place who can converse with the parents, and the kids move right in and speak better English than I do in a lot of cases. So, but that's a good question. Any other questions around that portion of our ministry here? You're going to be hearing more and more about this as it goes on. It's part of our DNA and part of what we're going to be doing. All right, so let's talk about, I wanted to talk a little bit about the denomination. Dave, if you want to put that up there now, we can take a look at that. Thank you. All right, we're done. Let's pray. Okay, so I want to talk about the denomination a little bit because there's a lot of news out there and a lot of things going on. The last time we really talked about this is hard to believe. You have to go back a year and a half. Remember, we talked about this in September 2022, and that was when we had a 2019 general conference where disaffiliations were allowed. Now, I'm going to take you back and just give you a little bit of history so we can all be on the same footing here. In 2019, the United Methodist Church, the denomination, had a special general conference. A general conference is a global conference. There's delegates that come from around the world and make decisions. At that general conference, the decision was made to actually strengthen the language in our discipline around the area of human sexuality. You remember that special conference was made so that we could work these things out. I have to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of confidence in the general conference to do things right. When they came together, it became kind of a mess. We came out of that general conference with a lot of disappointment. They were unable to get the job done. So what happened, there was a paragraph called paragraph 2553 in the discipline that would allow churches to disaffiliate who could no longer live with the church, the denomination, the way it was. Now, that window of opportunity for disaffiliation closed on December 31st, 2023. So we went through a period of disaffiliation from 2019 to 2023. The interesting part about disaffiliation, the disaffiliation language was, it was meant for more progressive churches who couldn't live with the rules that the church had set out, those more progressive churches who favored same-gender marriage and gay and lesbian pastors, it would allow them to leave. But what happened through the process was it was mostly traditional churches who took advantage of that and left the denomination because what happened in the 2019 General Conference was things didn't go well, and people actually bucked against the system and were not adhering to the discipline the way it was written. So they decided to leave. Between 2019 and 2023, we had about 7,660 disaffiliations. Most of those were Midwest, Southeast, and the Texas region. Okay, so we went through this period of disaffiliations. The United Methodist Church in 2019 had about 30,500 churches in the domestic denomination. Now, you have to understand this also. The disaffiliation clause was only opened to the domestic church, the church in the United States. Disaffiliations were not allowed outside of the United States. So it was a bit, what do I want to say, selective in the way they did that. During that period, 7,660 churches disaffiliated. They either went and joined another denomination or they went independent, okay? Also, during that time, we closed 1,592 United Methodist churches. That number, I don't think, is too far off the track of what they were normally closing actually prior to that. So those were churches that probably needed to close anyway, and it was happening. And 194 new church started around that time. So if you take 9,000 from the 30,000, that puts us around 1,500 churches, something that left in the domestic United Methodist Church here in the United States. Now, outside of the United States, now what we're entering into a period of time here is, if you remember, we had that 2019 General Conference, and out of that also came something else. We talked about the protocol for separation, which was something that everyone was really excited about. Then something unexpected happened, and that was COVID. And COVID hit in 2020. We have not had a general conference since 2019. Our church is finally coming together in Charlotte, North Carolina for a global general conference the end of April and March this year. So the end of April and March, they are finally coming together. The disaffiliated churches will not be there. It will be the remainder of the United Methodist Church. And I've gotten a lot of questions, what do we expect to come out of that general conference? Well, no one is really too sure of what to expect. They will take up the issue of the non-domestic church, the churches in Africa and Philippines, Europe, and other places, South America. How do we help those churches? Will there be a period of disaffiliation for them? The protocol that we had so much hope for in 2020, it's still on the agenda. They might bring that back, but I don't think there's much hope for that. What we do know will happen then is there's something called regionalization, which people have come together in the United Methodist Church, and many are supporting, and that is they would like to regionalize the different areas. So the United States would be a region, Africa would be a region, the Pacific Rim and Philippines would be a region. They would take these regions and they would allow those churches to have basically sub-conferences within there that would allow them to vote and change their actual theology within the discipline to match their culture. So our culture is much different than the African culture, and what we find is we come to loggerheads a lot on those issues, especially around human sexuality. So they're gonna possibly move towards regionalization, but we don't know. We just don't know. But we're hoping for the best to come out of Charlotte in 2024, something that can bring our church back together. Now, you'll remember in 2022 when the bishop put out his deadline, if any churches who want to disaffiliate in eastern Pennsylvania, if you want to do that, you've got to get back to us by, I think they gave us till September that year. That's why we went right into that situation where we were talking about it in September. I believe there are only 6 churches in eastern Pennsylvania that actually went through the disaffiliation. We did some polling and so forth and realized that there was no way that we could, even if there was a groundswell here to disaffiliate, we wouldn't be able to do that because of the polling numbers that we had. So we decided not to take a vote or do anything along those lines. And I can review that material if you want me to, but right now we are in a place where we are still a church and still a local congregation in the United Methodist, Greater United Methodist Church, and that seems to be where we are going to be. And I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know what's going to happen in April and March, but maybe at that time we'll be able to get an update and I can give you more information. But that's where we are in the denomination, and I'm willing to answer if I can answer any questions that you might have. So. Thoughts or questions? Wow, that was unexpected. All right. Is there any questions on anything else that we've talked about here today? This is your opportunity. Yes.
We're here in the sanctuary, and there's the organ, there's the piano, percussion, the word music has not crossed anyone's lips so far this afternoon. And I'm wondering, where in the general, in all of these lists, is the music ministry? Number one. And number two is there some kind of a fund or a line item in the budget for organ maintenance and repair?
Okay. The question is about the music ministry. Why haven't we talked about that? That's because there's a bus going by and I'm going to throw them under it. Your leader of the music ministry is in St. Kitts. Can you believe that? He went to the islands during our congregational meeting, and we tried to deny that, but John Coakley said, absolutely not, I'm leaving. Music is a very important part of this church. Is there a music fund? Absolutely. There is a music fund. There's an organ repair fund. It's funded at a level right now that I don't know if we need to address that or not, but anything, as far as I know, anything that needs to get done to the organ has been getting done and is getting done. What's that?
Chris is doing.
Oh, Chris is doing. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know some money came in specifically for that and was put towards that, so I know that's happening. Music is a very big part of this church. We don't mean to not mention it here. I wish John Coakley was here and he could lead us through a few songs and do that. And I'll.
Music have been on the leadership list?
No, it would have been under worship and been part of the ministries at the top. Yep. John Coakley is part-time staff here who leads the music ministry, and of course everyone knows Chris Rogers, who's also our part-time instrumentalist here, the music leader. Ruth. Yeah, Ruth is mentioning all of the support staff that goes along. We have 20, you've only seen a handful of the staff, but we have 20-some folks that are employed by this church who are welcoming and supportive. Diane and Kathy and Sally, they're so much fun to work with. Diane, Callie, and Sally and Kathy, who are here every day, who answer the phones when you and others call, and they are a constant. So thank you, Ruth, among all the other people who are here. And I don't want to not mention anyone, but if anybody wants to lift up a praise about an individual employee, we'll accept it. They're all awesome. They're great. Anna.
Just a question addressing Mary's concern about the Native Americans. In our conference giving, don't we, through that, give to things that are generally to the conference as a whole, the denomination as a whole, maybe addressing the concern in the Southwest, so we should feel that we're contributing to that because we contribute to the conference mission?
Yeah, addressing Mary Kilka's question there about the Native American ministries, we have something called CONAM, which is our coalition to serve the Native American ministries. We have United Methodist conferences in the Southwest, in Oklahoma, and all along there that are specifically Native American conferences. There is a lot of support that goes out to those, including mission trips. I've been on several mission trips down to Oklahoma outside of Tulsa, working with the Southeastern Indian United Methodist Conference. That's what they like to be called. So been down there several times, and we do that. So it'll be very easy to track that down. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There aren't many things you can talk about as far as the Methodist Church is concerned, and we're not somehow, we've got our tentacles in it somehow. So. Other questions? I'm going to close with a prayer, if you don't mind, and then we can take off. Lord, thank you so much. We have no reason here today to be anything other than incredibly grateful. All that we have is yours. We belong to you, and we want nothing more to be your church in a way that every day through our ministry, our service, our gifts, our time, our talents, everything that we do here somehow makes tomorrow look a little bit more like your kingdom than it did yesterday. So we're thankful for that. We're thankful for the abundance, the incredible abundance you give us here in the skills and the gifts and the incredible things that people do. Thank you for this beautiful staff that you've brought here to teach and lead these ministries. Thank you for this leadership that has come here today prepared to talk about these subjects. Thank you for this body that is the family of the Christian church, which goes out and changes the world in so many different ways that we can't even quantify. So we just ask once more boldly, would you continue to give us the Holy Spirit in such a way that we can continue to be your people of faith in a way that will make a difference in this place and this time that you've given us. It's in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's name that we ask this prayer. May we all go in peace. Amen. Thanks, everybody. And I just want to let you know the leaders, the staff, we're all here. If you have questions, we're an email or a phone call away, and we'll be hanging out here for just a few minutes if you have anything you want to ask us in person. God bless you all.